That's right. Well, thank you all for joining us for our April tech call. Hopefully everyone has their taxes done and don't have to worry about it tonight. And that's why you're joining our meeting tonight, because taxes are in the mail, and hopefully you're getting millions of dollars of refunds. So that way you'll be able to buy another Healy or something like that. But well, we look forward to tonight's call. We've got some questions in advance, and I appreciate when folks do that.
Over to see who is on here. Now I can't scroll anywhere. I don't know what's going on.
Hey, Bruce Newcomb, we can hear you.
I am.
We can hear you, Bruce. We're going to put you on mute. Okay. So we don't. He's talking to Karen. But so why don't we? We'll start with Rob Moore. Rob had a question, and I'm going to share my screen, Rob, because of the question that you had. You shared a couple examples. So let me get back to Zoom. Just as a pointer before we get started, those who attended our AHBS call with Bill Rawls Classic Cars last month, I hope people enjoyed that. There was you get a chance for. Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate the thumbs up for that. Again, it is out on our website, so if you did not happen to catch it, we do have it out on the website. Jack Rawls did a nice presentation as it relates to their shop and operation. Just to let you know, we're planning to do a similar exercise. Jeff Parada from Winner's Circle. He happens to be in the Cincinnati area, but he's one of the premier Sprite guys. He's going to do a session similar to what Bill and Jack Rawls did. So we're just going through the process to get that scheduled. So in the coming months, we'll have a similar process there where we'll focus on Sprites. But so Rod, let me try and share my screen with what you shared with me.
All righty.
Let's see how well I can share all that. Okay, so are you now seeing the battery cable panel?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, so I'm also, Rob, before I do that, I'm going to go to the you gave me the other one too, right?
Right.
The
The
cable setup.
instructions.
Okay.
There it is.
Right. So Rob, you want to kind of go through your question for our team, and we'll see if we have some good recommendations for you?
Sure. So what I'm trying to do is see if anybody has installed this grommet and supporting plate kit for the battery cable in their Healy, particularly in an earlier vintage BT7. I got this out of Moss, but it's the same thing that AH Spares sells. And it's supposed to be a better, more protective of the battery cable as it goes through the metal panels. The problem I'm running into is that it's too large, both in diameter and in width, to fit on my car, particularly what they're showing as 2B there, which is that battery.
Grommet, that's right here. The steel plate.
Right.
The triangular steel plate. Yep.
So I talked to, sorry, go ahead, Pete. Did you say?
No, go ahead.
So I talked to Moss Technical Support, and they told me that the problem is that panel should have a dimple or an indent there to take the extra thickness of the rubber grommet. So their suggestions were to modify that panel to put a dimple in it. And he pulled up this panel picture here, and it does kind of look like there's a dimple around the hole, but I can't really tell. Or to cut down the grommet or drill out the hole larger. So I'm just trying to see if anybody else has tackled this to give me maybe save me from extra work or doing something screwed up.
So just question, Rob, how is the quality of that battery cable panel? Is the steel fine with that?
Yes, except that one of the reasons I want to do this is because the metal around that panel hole in mine looks like it's shorted out before because it's pretty jagged. So at
Okay.
some point, I think that the old style grommet wasn't holding that cable in there and it was shorting out. But
Okay.
yes, the panel's in good shape.
So ideally, you don't want to replace the panel, correct?
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Anyone experience similar things with that in terms of that panel and is what would be the best approach that Rob should take?
I can tell you I have had that experience with a 106 where that had burned out exactly as you're describing. And the problem was that they just used a regular grommet for that cable. And as you learned, there just isn't enough insulation between the cable and the steel of the panel. That's what it's all about. If you look at the thickness of rubber between the outside of the cable and the hole in the panel, when that grommet's in, it's a lot larger. That's the basic. So I have done the job. Started by using one of those step drill bits that you can buy at the Harbor Freight and so on. Measured if you look at the rubber grommet sideways, you can see the diameter of the hole that you need to make for that grommet. I don't remember what it was, but I think it was something like 3/4 of an inch because I didn't do it that long ago. Used the hole saw, the step drill to bore it out to that size, and then I got a socket, and I think it was a large socket and a small socket, and a bolt. Put it through the hole, and used by tightening the nut on the bolt, I managed to put a dimple in that was pretty close to what was required just by squishing it with a small socket inside a big socket. Small socket on one side of the panel, big socket on the other side, bolt right through, tighten it up, and you end up with that dimple. I can tell you it's a well worthwhile doing because a friend of mine was racing his 106 and exactly that problem occurred, and the fuel tank caught fire. So it's well worth spending a little time fixing it.
Yeah, sounds it.
Well, that's a great suggestion, Mike. So what Moss is telling me is, if you remember, this piece of rubber there's one side of it that protrudes out.
Yep. You can see that on the picture.
Right, and they're saying that that part comes through the bracket. Is that what you remember?
I'm pretty sure that the large side of the grommet, which is the side away from you in those pictures, is what nests nicely into the little metal piece that they show. Is that correct? I think that's right.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah, and then the the grommet is put through with the cable inside it. It's pushed into the dimple that you've made, and then you put that metal panel over the outside and drill the 3 holes for the screws.
okay. So they're
It
saying,
wasn't as hard as it looks.
no, I don't think it will be. I just didn't want to cut holes that I then later didn't need.
Yeah.
So yeah, so they're saying that actually the part of the grommet that sticks out, that has the male part of it, actually goes through the panel, which sounds like that's different from the way you had it made it fit. But I don't know that they're correct.
I don't think it did. I seem to remember there was a dimple in the panel that accepted it. If you look at that picture of the panel, Pete, can you pull that up again?
Yeah. Yep.
Isn't that the dimple there you can see? There. Isn't that a dimple?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah, I would think, yeah, it looks like the right positioning.
And the flange points away from it points towards the front of the car, the flange for the spot welding, so you don't see it. I'm pretty sure that's how it was.
I'm sorry, did I say the flange? I meant the rubber grommet.
Yeah, okay. No, see that, looking at that metal panel, the flange the flange on the panel points towards the front of the car, as I recall. And so the dimple also points towards the front of the car. And that's where the grommet nests.
Okay.
Is that, sorry, that's a bit unusual, but yeah.
No, I think I see what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, but I don't
That,
think the grommet goes through the metal as a normal grommet would.
yeah, that's kind of where I was coming out too, because the grommet itself, the total width is like inch and
Half
a
an inch
half.
or,
Yeah, correct.
Whereas that the smaller protrusion is only about an inch and an eighth-ish or something like that. So that would make more sense.
Yep.
Okay, that's a great suggestion. I appreciate the help.
great, thanks, Michael. Anyone else have any thoughts, or have you done similar things with this, for the battery cable?
Well, the original grommet and that goes through that sheet metal thing is a pretty heavy grommet. It's a lot of rubber between the cable and the metal. You know, I
Rich, I'm
just
not sure if you heard earlier, Michael said he had an instance where it shorted out with on a race car and caught fire because the grommet wasn't
well, I mean,
sufficient.
there's always that possibility, I guess, but I'm just saying
Right.
there seemed to be a lot of rubber between the cable and the cutout.
Are you
Okay.
talking about the earlier style where it was just a grommet put in through the steel, or
Yeah.
this style?
No, the
earlier
original
one.
had the
Yeah.
grommet through
I
the
mean,
steel.
I guess the edge might have been sharp enough to cut through the grommet and the cable insulation, but it did.
I
Lots of
guess.
smoke.
I guess it
Lots
can.
of smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. And mine had done that at some point in its past as well. So Mike, I presume you use the same process for where the cable goes through the bulkhead?
Yeah, the axis isn't too bad when you got the wheel off.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because
Thank
Rob,
you.
wasn't it one of these previous calls you were questioning about type of cable? Wasn't that a question you had earlier?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Now, have you decided what you're going to use for cable? Are you going to, source one from one of the suppliers, or are you going to do something else?
I finally caved and ordered one from AH Spares.
Okay.
It was just turning into too much of a pain in the ass.
Yep. No, well, but again,
I use
go ahead, sorry,
welding.
Michael.
I use welding cable. It's got a thicker rubber coating on it, and it
Okay.
looks pretty similar.
Yeah, I looked into a couple places actually making one, British Wiring, and I think it was Rhode Island Wiring, and it was going to be over $100, which was more expensive than just buying a prefabbed one. And I thought about going it myself, like you did, Mike, and just buying a length of cable and adding the ends to it, but I just said the hell with it.
My experience with buying things from, Age Spares, Ahead for Healy's, Dennis Welch, those is typically you order something, you're getting it within 2 or 3 days. The lead time has been very good recently.
Yeah, I've gotten some stuff from Spares before, and it comes a lot faster than I think it would. And I actually asked them if the tariffs apply to the stuff that they sell, and they said right now it does not.
Right. The problem is we never know what the next day is going to bring.
Well, this is true. We could have a 200% tariff on Austin-Healey parts coming from England.
Right. Well, similarly, that Austin-Healey behind me, that's a Sebring Sprite that I purchased from England. It hasn't left yet, but I'm hoping that its cars greater than 25 years old are not supposed to have any tariff associated with them. So, but we'll wait and see when it gets here. But hopefully that I'm not hit with that heavy tariff. At least it's not coming from China. So that makes it a little easier. They come from the UK.
Yeah, I was talking to the people at Custom Spares over in Brewster last Thursday, and we got talking about the tariffs, and she said the tariffs don't apply to orders of less than $800,
Oh,
which is good news. So,
Wow.
and they definitely order a lot of stuff and ship a lot of stuff, so I think they would know.
Yeah, I had heard that as well, but I think Peter blipped over 800 on that Sprite.
Slightly.
Or you got a great deal.
I did get a great deal, but I paid more than $800. But no, but obviously, if these are exempt from the tariffs, again, buying from the UK is a pretty easy process, and so it works well in my experience.
Yeah, I had
Anything?
ordered I had ordered parts for my TVR last week, and the order was placed on a Monday, and I came in at 10 minutes after 11 on the following Thursday.
Whoa.
So the shipping is about as fast as Moss, it seems, frankly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I do think Moss is much better now than during COVID. They must have been really understaffed because my experience there is it was taking an awful long time to get orders through Moss, but I'm finding it's much better now than it was.
Hey,
But-
Peter, Ken
Yeah,
here.
Ken?
Yeah, a couple of comments. I find when I go to Moss, I only go to extension 7053. The man's name is Dave, and he's an Austin-Healey owner.
Okay.
And I talked to him this past week. They have 20,000 stock numbers right now that are back ordered.
Ooh.
20,000, not 2,000, but 20,000.
Wow.
And a comment on the cable. One of the things that I've done with almost all of my old cars is I put my gas line and I put my battery cables inside clear tubing. It's just an extra precaution I've always used on older cars. So as you know, I just put a new gas line.
So you say like the flexi line on.
Yep.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Yep. So I run all of my gas line and all of that battery cable. If you make up your own battery cables, I put it in clear tubing,
Wow.
just
Okay.
as a precaution.
Hey, Rob, I have
Yep,
a 60
understand.
BT.
Well, that's good.
Am I on mute?
No, we can hear you, Les.
No,
Oh,
we can hear
okay.
you. Go ahead.
Yeah, Rob, I have a 60 BT7. I just went down and checked my battery cable. It's going through that sheet metal. It just has the grommet in it. And it's been in there for close to 20 years. And it looks just like it's brand new. And the cable, the battery cable's going through it. It looks very, very good and solid. And I've driven in the car a lot of miles.
Okay.
So, with that, it's worked for me with the car.
Okay, thank you.
Good. Rob, any other questions?
I have a different question, Peter. I
Please,
could have
go ahead.
sworn on one of these
You're at the
calls.
table.
I could have sworn on one of these calls, someone mentioned that they were a member of the Model A Club. Am I misremembering?
Yeah, so Bruce Newcomb, who's on the call, he's on mute right now, and Bruce Ketchin, they're
Yeah.
both members of the Model A clubs.
Okay. My father had a 32 Model A that I need to figure out what to do with, but it hasn't been run in about 30 or 40 years. So I was trying to
Okay.
make some connections with some folks who
Okay.
might know more about it than I do.
Well,
Rob, feel free to give me a call.
Okay.
that's Bruce Ketchin.
Bruce Ketchum. I'm in the book.
All right. Thank you.
And this is Ken Gibson. Technically, a 32 is not a Model A, but you're welcome to get in touch with me also. Has it got a V8 or a 4-cylinder?
4-cylinder.
Okay, then that's technically a 32 Model B.
Okay.
All these things we're learning on this call tonight.
No, huh?
And
Yeah.
an interesting fact about the Model B is in the early days of racing of sprint cars, they were called big cars, and that was the motor of choice. But most of them had overhead valve and overhead cam conversions for them, but they all use that Ford Model B 4-cylinder.
Rob, is that car in Vermont as well?
It is, yes.
Okay.
Yep.
And what is your plan to get that running?
Um, I don't think I mean, I have so many projects, I probably shouldn't keep it. But I think the first step is to get it running and see, how much it needs.
Yep.
Rob, does the
I-
engine turn over?
I have not tried that yet, Bruce.
If it turns over, you can probably have it started in an afternoon.
Oh, really? Okay.
I totally agree with them. Yep, they're great engines. Hey, Rob, what's your phone number?
781-588-0562.
Okay. All right. I'd be glad to call you and talk to you about that.
All right. Thanks, guys.
There's a show on well, it used to be called Velocity, I forget what it's called now. Bruce Ketchum, did you happen to look at that thing? I sent you the link to that. It's basically that a guy he got a Model A in Detroit it'd been sitting for 40 years outside, and during the course of the show, he got the thing running. He didn't have to put a new motor in it. And he drove it to the Ford factory in Detroit. I'll send you the link to that, Rob. Something wrench. It's one of those shows on those auto shows. But it was kind of interesting watching him get going.
Yeah. I think it's roadworthy rescues.
Yes, there you go. Roadworthy rescues.
I've seen him pull cars out of shrubbery and muck with it with everything from hammers to finesse, and it's quite amazing, and then drives them home.
Yeah.
He's also got a YouTube channel called Vice Grip Garage. That's where he started. A fellow that does that TV show, which, by the way, has just been canceled by Motor Trend. So that TV show, any new episodes are gone.
Yeah. They're canceling a lot of those shows, unfortunately. So, but yeah, it's a good one. So Roger Hamel, hopefully we're allowed to talk about Model A's here on this call as well. It's not sacrilegious to talk about non-Healeys, is it? So Rob, any other questions?
No, that's it. Thank you, Pete.
You're welcome. Eric Dykes, I saw you were on the call.
Yes,
and you've got a 66 BJ8.
I do.
And you're having some problems with that, Eric, right?
I am. So
And you're
yes.
a fairly new owner, right?
It's been in the family. Yes, it's been in the family for 45 years, but
Yep.
it moved from my dad to me a couple years ago.
Right. I remember you telling us about that.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I live down in Florida, so I don't really ride it during the summer months. So I'm running out of time here to drive it. But it's been sitting for quite a long time, 6 months or so. And so I went to start it yesterday to take it out for a ride. And I had a hard time starting it. It really, it's probably a minute on the starter, but not straight. I just did it in 6 second increments, and held it for 6 seconds, backed off, 6 seconds, backed off, that type of thing. Finally started up after about a minute, idled beautiful for about 10-15 minutes, turned it off so it wouldn't overheat, and then packed up my stuff, went to go to get in the car, and it's completely dead. No power at all, zero. The lights don't work, the horn doesn't work, nothing. It's like there's no battery. I did check the battery. Battery is perfectly fine. I checked the two fuses, the 35 amp and the 30 amp. They're perfectly fine. I'm completely dumbfounded. The only other thing I haven't checked is it does have a kill switch in the boot. I have not taken that apart, but shy of that, is there anything else that would cause it to have no power?
Well, Eric, before you take anything apart, play with the kill switch, because I had the same problem.
Okay.
I ran it, shut it off, went to the next morning, it didn't start. And when I rotated the kill switch, it would be engaged if it was between off and on, but not at off and not at on.
Mm.
And I replaced the kill switch and it's been fine.
Okay, I'll try turning the headlight on and then turn the switch back and forth to see if the headlight kicks on while I'm spinning it.
That's exactly what I did.
Okay.
I had the same problem. So, like I say, fool around with the kill switch and try. You can't take it apart. I've tried and I screwed it up. I eventually had to buy a new one. But
you can bypass the kill switch, correct?
Correct.
I've done that before. Okay.
That's what I did.
So Eric, you can just bypass the kill switch entirely.
Yeah.
And have and that, because those as the English would say, they're dodgy.
Yeah. I was out of the house and I was someplace else and I put the two together and it started up just fine and away we went.
Okay.
So, yeah,
And
that's easy enough to do.
And what you can always do too, you can either get a new one or just direct wire it to the negative on the, or to the battery anyhow, and get an aftermarket battery disconnect.
Yeah.
A racing one, or
that's what I actually I said kill switch, but it's a aftermarket disconnect that's in there. It's a knob that so yeah. I tried to take this. I actually thought it was the key starter, so I was trying to take that apart, and then I'm like, wait a sec, let me back. Let's start simple before we get complicated.
Oh yeah.
The
Michael had a question.
Sorry, the easy test for the kill switch is just get a set of battery jumper cables, use the black one, hook one onto the battery positive, in your case, if it's still a positive ground car, the other one onto something on the frame of the car, and then see if it starts. All you're doing is bypassing it. Rather than tearing things apart, just see if bypassing the switch with the jumper cable solves the problem. I think Roger might have had a problem on that, or something like that, on one of our trips.
Mike, I like your thinking.
We were on a trip with Roger and he forgot he'd turned his kill switch off when we went into the motel and came out in the morning. By the time I got out, he had the ignition switch out and most of the electrics pulled apart. He turned it off.
Mike, I don't like you talking about that.
But yeah, Eric, that's absolutely true. You know, the old keep it simple, stupid process.
Yeah.
Do the easiest things first, and don't overthink that.
I was thinking that, like I said, I was on the starter for a long time, so I was thinking, well, maybe that popped a fuse or something. But you're right, I'm overthinking it. So let me start with that. If that doesn't work, I'll shoot an email out, and maybe someone else can throw me some suggestions. But I'll start with that. Thank you.
Okay.
I have a question about that.
Hey, Mark.
Hi. I think the original kill switch has a line that goes, a small white wire that goes to the distributor that actually makes it impossible to start it.
Goes to
and if that shorts out, the car won't work.
Except the starter would still turn over.
Okay.
Yeah, the starter would still turn over.
Yeah, I don't really know the function, how that white and black wire works.
That just grounds the distributor.
A little more information on that kill switch. If the connection from the kill switch to the frame of the car is in poor condition, all the starter current travels through a small brass spring inside the switch. And if you crank long enough, the spring gets red hot, loses all its tension, and then the contacts inside the kill switch don't press together. That's the most common problem with those kill switches. That the line from the switch to ground has to be in very good condition.
Because I just felt like I was on that starter for a lot longer than I wanted to be, and then it just after that it didn't start back up. So that's logical as well.
Eric, I'm a little confused. You have the original Healey kill switch bypassed by an aftermarket switch, you said.
I'm assuming it's aftermarket. It's in the boot. It's next to the battery, and it's a little round knob that says off with an arrow on it.
Okay.
That's the
original.
Yeah,
that's original.
I thought you had put on one of those aftermarket type to go right on the battery.
Is that original?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. On a BJ8 like yours, that's exactly where it is. On the 4-cylinder cars, the hundreds, it's up above the tray in the back next to where the spare tire goes. So a slightly different location.
So if I was to get a replacement, I should order that on spares, and if I want to replace like for like.
Moss has a good replacement for it.
Okay.
But you don't
As
need
long
it
as it's not
to
back
the
ordered,
point that
what,
other people made.
What Ken mentioned. That's one thing on the Moss catalog. I mean, I think they do a very good job with identifying items that are on back order. So you can, if you go onto their website, it tells you whether the part is available or not.
Okay.
But no, that is that's an original one, but they are not. They're notoriously a weak link in the whole process. So
take the kill switch off and just wire it directly to the battery and see if it starts, or see if the lights come on, that type of thing.
Put jumper cables on it first.
Jumper cables, got it. Yep.
Good job.
Cool. Thank you.
And
so you said this was your dad's car.
Yes.
Generally, what kind of condition is the car currently in, Eric?
I guess it's not I saw there was a $123,000 car sold that was a BJ8, and that's nothing close to this one.
Okay.
It's in fair condition. I get compliments, but I don't run it enough. I had an injury about a year ago, so I haven't been able to use my left foot on the clutch, so it hasn't been driven much at all.
Okay.
So now I'm trying to get back out there and start using it on a regular basis. I'd love to get it. I'd really love to spend some money and get it restored a bit. It hasn't really been restored in 20 plus years, so it's kind of showing its age.
Yeah. Well, because one thing, grounds are one things that are now obviously the car's been in Florida most of its life, or when your dad had it.
No, we had it shipped down from Vermont about a year and a half ago. Came down on a post carrier. So we're thinking it doesn't like Florida, is what we're thinking.
Well, So if there is rust around any of the grounds, that can be a problem as well.
Okay. Yeah, well, I live pretty close to the ocean, so it's that's a possibility too. Would that be, when you say rust around the grounds, that would be around the kill switch area as well?
Everywhere.
Everywhere.
That's right, Kevin.
If you want to spend money, restoring it is a good thing to do.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Todd.
I have a question, a follow-up on the kill switch, which we don't have. It's missing or never was installed when my father-in-law was rebuilding this. But I did find a black and white wire that was hanging under there, and I was trying to figure out where it went to. And lo and behold, I tracked it down to what it should go to, which was the kill switch. So right now it's just capped off. And I mean, I don't know good, bad, or ugly at this point, whether I should do something else with it.
The purpose of the black wire, the black and white wire, was a security idea. You could turn off the master switch, which then grounded the distributor, so that even if somebody managed to jumper the car with a battery, it still wouldn't start because the distributor wouldn't produce a spark. So the idea was you could lock the trunk with that switch turned off, and it made the car very hard to steal.
So if that black and white wire grounds itself,
The car won't
It-
start.
perfect. I think I've had that happen before. All right.
Eric,
Got it?
Eric,
Yes.
yeah, Steve Hibbard. I'm down in Florida, and I've been to a couple of the Healy meets in the Jacksonville area. Where are you in Florida?
Vero Beach, about probably 2.5 to 3 hours south of Jacksonville.
Yeah, so well, that maybe but I'd be happy to share with you the name of the president of the South Florida Healy Club as a source to call. And
Yeah,
but
please do. Please do. The more the
Yeah.
merrier. Absolutely.
you got I might as well give it to you right now while I think of
Sure,
it.
go
You got a
ahead.
piece of
Yeah, please.
It's the 781-910-7208, and I'm Steve Hibbard.
Oh, and that's your number. Yep, got it. Thank
Great.
you.
Yep.
Yep, thank you. I'll reach out to you. Thank you, Steve.
Yeah, so Todd said when you went out to use the car and the car wouldn't start. So do you think that is the issue with it's grounded, Todd?
She's yelling in the other room for me not to tell you. Well, I came home and I started it right up, had no problem at all. But what happened was last year, we've had a couple instances where the car would shut off and it was like it was dead. There was nothing there. And, last year I came home and I thought it was a fuel pump, which I have changed the fuel pump at this point. And it probably had the original fuel pump because when I opened it up, it was a disaster. So I got a new electronic fuel pump in and I found this wire and it was hanging. And I think what's happened is a few times we've had a problem where it died, is that wire grounded itself and killed the car because I could never figure it out. It would I would go there and it would start right up. So, but today I think maybe it was just a flooding issue or something. It was hard starting when it was cold. And when I got home, I just pushed the button, it started right up. So I'm thinking that might be all it is.
Okay. And how was your round of golf today? I heard you were playing golf today too, Todd.
Yeah, today was ugly.
Uh-oh. So Rory, McIlroy doesn't have any worries for you, Todd, sorry.
He inspired me, but it didn't help any.
That was quite a game, wasn't it? Watching that Masters, that was awesome. Are
It
there other
was.
questions? Are there other questions tonight?
I have a question.
Hi,
I have
Bruce.
a question
Hi.
too.
Okay, Daryl, we'll let Bruce go first.
Yeah.
Okay,
I have
I
one for
just
people.
I just finished putting my roll-up windows in my BJ7 today, and they kind of are hard to roll up and roll down. The bottom part is pretty easy, but rolling them up is kind of hard. I mean, I can do it, but I'm wondering, I put in all new. I actually had to do. The windows were really bad, so I bought new windows. I put the glazing strips on and the new plastic nylon runners, and I cleaned up all the tracks, and I put little silicone grease in there, and then I tried to adjust. It was rubbing a little bit on the wiper on the inside, that sort of brush on the inside. It was wiping some on there, going up on both sides of the car. But I was wondering with those nylon runners, do those need to wear in? Or is it tough at first when you install a new, a whole new window setup and needs to sort of wear in a bit, or am I doing something wrong that I need to do? So I tried adjusting the rear track. There's a little bit of play in there's like captive nuts in the rear track that the back runner runs on, and I've tried adjusting that back and forth, but that didn't seem to help. I was wondering if anybody had any ideas.
Yeah, any recommendations for Bruce?
Try
I
it.
replaced mine. Go ahead.
Try just disconnect it from the mechanism. Try moving the glass up and down by itself. That way you'll eliminate the nylon bushings.
Uh-huh. Yeah, I did try that without the mechanism, and it was, it wasn't as free and easy moving. At the bottom of travel, it was pretty easy, but as it went up towards the top, it got a bit harder with the mechanism disconnected. So I think it definitely is something in there with not the mechanism itself.
I replaced the seals on mine, just the seals, nothing else. And it was extremely hard at first with the new ones. And I thought I was going to have to do something with it. But after I had run the thing up and down several times, it went away. Completely went away. And now they work perfectly. I mean, when you said that's exactly what happened to me after I had replaced just the wipers, though, not all the other stuff you're talking about.
The nylon pieces that go in the.
Yeah, I didn't replace those. They were fine. Just that.
Just the
that
seal.
wiper, what do you want to call it? The seal of the wiper was very tough at first, but then it wore in or whatever and started working.
Okay.
If you put a little talcum powder on the window, on the outside of the window, just display, you'll find that when that goes down and gets onto the rubber seal, if you're at that stage, it will make the seal much easier to run over the glass.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Talcum powder. Okay. Wow.
You could always get rid of the glass and put, side curtains on it too.
There you go. That's the convertible top and the roll-up window. That's the BJ7. That's the major difference.
You're right. That makes it a convertible, not a roadster.
Right.
Yeah, but you said you put some silicone onto those runners, Bruce?
In the tracks, yeah. Just put some silicone, light silicone grease in there, yeah. And
okay.
that seemed to help a bit, but it was still, I didn't know until I hooked up the mechanism. I said, well, I can lift it, but it's got some force to move it, but with the, like with the handle, I can do it, but it's like, it's. I don't feel like I'm gonna break anything lifting the window. It takes a fair amount of force.
If you pull the window all the way to the top when things are disconnected, would it drop of its own weight?
No.
That's too tight. It should, when you've got the mechanism disconnected, it should definitely slide down under its own weight. The mechanism doesn't pull it down. The mechanism restricts it from falling. So you need to determine. It could be that the top of the channel, the chrome channel, has been crushed a little bit, squished. Sometimes they get that way. People squish them to stop them rattling.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Of course, that when you put the new nylon bushes in, it's then too narrow for the new nylon bushes. So you may want to look at that.
Okay. I'll give it a look. Thanks.
Thanks, Michael. So Daryl had a question, and Martin Yaffe, you had your hand raised. Do you have a question, or you want to address what Bruce's problem was?
No, I have a question. So maybe after there's somebody before me, but.
Yep, we'll come right. We'll come right after you, after Daryl. Go ahead, Daryl.
Okay. So, like you say, this has never happened to anyone before. I'm getting a lot of exhaust into the cabin of the car, and it seems like a lot. I really can't tell. I mean, it seems like, I'm driving in warm weather. I get a little more exhaust into the cabin. What can I be doing here to, remedy that or reduce the amount of exhaust coming up through the engine?
How long is your tailpipe? Does it stick out a long way?
Not so much. No,
We had a 100 race car, and we had the tailpipe probably about 3 inches shorter than an original on a 100, and it absolutely gassed us out. Extended the tailpipe by about 3-4 inches, and the problem immediately went away.
Okay, there's no, would it be gaskets or anything with the
It's usually coming in from the back of the car. If you don't have an audible leak, it won't be from a leakage from the exhaust, it'll be from the tailpipe.
Okay.
Now you've got a BJA right now. You get
BJA, BJA,
and your exhaust goes across the back and then on the right side.
Correct.
Okay, and how new or old is that exhaust system?
Quite new. Bob Abbott did the work for me
Okay,
there, so.
okay. So,
I mean,
so
maybe it's
Bob, do you
coming up.
recall in terms of with that standard, in terms of the length of the tailpipe on Darrell's exhaust? Was that standard?
I don't recall precisely, but I'm sure it was a standard exhaust system
Yeah.
with the standard exit. They do make chrome tips to put on the back of it, which would extend it out a little bit, might help your situation. But I have to agree with Mike, if it's coming in, it's being sucked back up to the car as you're passing through the air, it's creating a vacuum and sucking the exhaust back at you. So you need to get it a little farther back out the back of the car.
All right, so some extenders from Moss Motors, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I know, Bob, you have that on your BJ7. You've got chrome exhaust tips. Is that the reason you have that?
Frankly, no. I just wanted the look of it,
Okay.
but I can't say that it helped a lot.
It was vanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, they look good. Okay.
I'll give that a shot. I'll give that a shot. I had one other question as well. You know, it's time to replace the tires and wheels. And, you know, where should I be going for that? And the question about the wheels, whether I should be going with the, you know, the spokes, or I don't know what the new alloy concoction is there, but there's a different style of wheel that's being sold. Anybody's thoughts here on wheels and tires?
Well, my recommendation is Allen Hendricks and Hendricks Wire Wheels in North Carolina. I've replaced the wheels and tires on my BJ8, and it made a significant difference. He shaves and balances as well. And so I have 185s on my BJ8. I've got 165s on my 100. With the Vertensteins, I realize I didn't pronounce that properly, but they've been great. No scuttle shake at all. You may need to also have do you have any scuttle shake now, Darrell?
Yeah, once I get over 60s, you know, it's gone. But you know, that
Right,
50 to
yeah.
60 range.
55 to yep, okay. Well, it's the other thing that I also sent my rear brake drums to Alan, and he rebalanced those as well.
Okay.
I've done
What
the
about
same thing.
chrome
Rebalance.
versus
Sorry,
Oh,
I've done
go
the
ahead,
same
go ahead.
thing. Rebalance my rear drums, and it works just beautiful. And I have two cars, and I have some with wire wheels, and another one with these, like you say, these other wheels that are, and they're more solid.
Yeah.
I feel I have a better ride with the ones that are not spoke wheels, but both of them are good. And it depends if you like to clean the spoke wheels too.
Well, I was going to say, do you go with the chrome or the non-chrome?
It's your decision. It's your car.
They were originally painted. They were not chrome wire wheels.
Okay.
So, but you know, a lot of people put chrome wire wheels on them, but that's not the way they were originally.
I'll stick to original.
Painted is the way, and painted's cheaper as well.
Yeah.
But Hendricks wire wheels.
Got it. Thanks so much.
Yep. So Mike, I saw you got a question. So we'll let Martin go first. Martin Yuffie, and then Mike Hirsch after that. Go ahead, Martin.
Hi, so I'm in Toronto. I'm a relatively new member. I've got a BT7 a Mark II that I bought in 1968 when I was a poor struggling student, and I've managed to keep it all this time.
Wow.
It runs reasonably well. I had some work done at Auto Farm a couple of years ago, and long before that, Mike looked after it at Precision in Toronto. But I'm still, and that information about the exhaust is really helpful, because I've always had that problem, and I never thought of it coming from behind the car, but that makes a lot of sense when I hear it. So I'm going to try the suggestion about extending the tailpipe a little bit. But the problem I have is that the car it really takes a long time to start. You really have to crank it almost forever. It does start invariably, but I was just wondering if anybody had any suggestions. Is there something that needs to be adjusted or changed? And once it runs, it's making popping sounds. Occasional backfire, but it mostly seems to be coming from the out the air cleaner. Particularly it's a tri-carb, so it's particularly coming out the one that's closest to the driver. Any thoughts?
So when you're trying to start the car, do you have the choke pulled all the way?
I do,
Martin?
all the way out. And
Okay.
the one thing I noticed today, because I did start it up today, is I found that the popping problem seemed to be less if I kept the choke out. I kind of, when I bought the car, I got the sense you should get the choke in pretty quickly. But I found that leaving it out a little further, there was less of that popping, if that provides any insight at all.
The thing you're describing, Martin, they backfire through the carbs when the carburetor is running lean or the choke is not out far enough for a cold engine. So I think you probably need to take a close look at the linkage for the carburetor, for the choke, when somebody pulls the choke out, to see if it's actually activating the chokes all the way. Your car's got HS carbs. So what the choke does is it actually pushes the jet on the bottom of the car, of the carb, down. So if you can compare all three of the carburetors, you can actually usually put a small screwdriver in and rest it on the jet, the black thing at the bottom, then pull out the choke and see if that choke actually drops, or that jet actually drops when you pull out the choke. My guess would be you've probably got some corrosion on a cable or something or other that's limiting how far the jet drops.
Okay, so just try to clean the cables, just see if they're moving smoothly, and make sure that the choke is actually really actuating rather than just the cable moving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah.
I
When the car's warmed up, it probably doesn't cough back. Is that right?
It does some, but not as frequently. Exactly.
If it still pops back when the engine's properly warmed up, then it probably needs a mixture adjustment on one of the carbs to get it a little richer.
Okay, great. That's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah, Martin, I had the exact same problem. What Mike's telling you is exactly what the problem was for me. It was the choke cable was messed up, and what Mike was saying is definitely check the movement on that choke cable and see if it's doing what it's supposed to be doing.
So can the cable be lubricated, or you replace the cable if it's
I
just running
replaced
stiff?
the one I had. It just goes from the wall. It has that tube thing. That wall goes up to each carburetor, and they were all strung out. I just replaced it with a new one. And you got to be very careful because you can mess those things up very easily. So if you do get a new one,
Okay.
be careful.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like it's almost 100% a fuel problem, not ignition.
That's
Nothing's 100%.
Almost certainly a fuel problem. Coughing back through the carb is very unusual for it to be an ignition problem.
Yeah. Okay, I figured if it was an ignition problem, it would happen, all the time, and in this case, it's just kind of sporadic.
Absolutely right.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Thanks.
You're welcome. Did anyone else have something for Martin? This question or suggestion? Okay, Mike Hirsch, you had a question?
Well, just an observation. I was asking about a couple of meetings ago about getting my carbs rebuilt, and I took it up to the fellow up in Maine, Tom, whatever his name is, up in Maine. Phenomenal. We dropped him off at his place Sunday afternoon, and Tuesday he called, said they're done, and it was very interesting because he called and said, by chance, was it idling fast? I said, yes, it was. He said he saw something was slightly amiss, fixed it, and Pete and I flew up on Thursday, picked them up, and put them in a couple days later, and it's idles very nicely. It's a bit of a chore to get them in and tuned. It idles well. I get a little bit of pinging on acceleration, so I figured it's probably just something on the timing that's going to be slightly adjusted. But the main thing is fellow Tom did them, and I think it was $250 for the pair, or $270 for the pair. They had them done in 2 or 3 days. So
That's great.
So I went with your recommendation there, and because we happened to be driving up to the Owl's Head Transportation Museum anyhow, dropped them off on the way back, and then the next Thursday flew up and picked them up.
Yeah, so that's a point that was taken, that through these tech calls, there was recommendation of that gentleman. So the Healey resource guide that we have updated now and published it through AHCA across Canada and the US, we have over 205 different suppliers out there on that website. So Mike, as you mentioned, came from a recommendation from another one of our members as it relates to a supplier for rebuilding carburetors. And obviously you had a really good experience.
Yeah. And what was really impressive is that he called up and said, "By chance, do you see this?" And I said, "Yeah." So he saw something described the symptoms, and he was correct. And now idles very nicely at about 800 or so, or thereabouts. Well, whatever it is, it idles. It idles very well. He replaced some of the bushings for the jet, or for the
throttle shafts.
All the shafts. He said he like the shafts. He said he didn't have to replace those because he spec'd them out and they were new condition. But he replaced the bushings with I think Delrin bushings and stuff. And there's very little there's very little he had to do. But what he did, he did it right away, and it's I was very happy with it.
Yeah, my stick at a little bit of a high idle a lot when I'll come to a stop sign. She'll be idling high, and I have to hit the accelerator a couple of times to try and knock it down a bit. Who was this guy, and where in Maine was he?
Tom. Let me see if I can get
Tom Bryant.
Yeah,
Bryant.
Wiscasset, I believe.
Yes.
Wiscasset. Cool.
Yeah.
He's sort of those bushings, those Delrin bushings are sort of a specialty. He says that he claims that the butterfly shafts never wear out once he puts his Delrin bushings in there.
Yeah, good to know.
Yeah, I have his phone number if
that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, it's on the website.
On the website.
Yeah, here
Just occurred to me, I have something else regarding Martin's issue. Rather than using a screwdriver on the this is the Tri-carb. So rather than using a screwdriver to detect whether or not the jet is dropping, you can take the suction chamber off, 3 screws on your car, lift them off very carefully. They have the needle hanging out the bottom, and there's a spring and all sorts of stuff inside there. But just lift them off very carefully, and then you can see the jet. And when you pull the carburetor, pull the choke cable, you should literally see those 3 jets all drop down. Sometimes it's easier than trying to do it by measuring it from the outside.
Okay, I'll try that. So it's the suction, removing the suction chamber.
Suction chambers and piston. It's got a spring inside there. Just lift them off carefully and set them to one side. Then pull the choke, and you should see the jet physically drop. About 1/8 of an inch.
Oh, that's all it moves.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So again, Chris, Tom Bryant, and Wiscasset.
All set. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
Yep. And again, Bruce, thank you very much for that recommendation. And again, we've added that to the resource guide. So take advantage of that. Are there other questions?
Yeah, if we have
time, I have a quick question, a general question. I've got a
Hey, Peter.
BJ8. Hi, Peter. A new owner. So
Go
it's been
ahead.
a while since. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, you're on. We can hear you, Peter.
Can you hear me? Okay,
Yeah,
good.
yep.
It's a general question for the steering, the looseness in the steering. How much give or yeah, free movement should you have typically in steering like that? And the car's got about 55,000 miles. The tires are good, the wheels are good, everything's been balanced. It runs great, thanks to Bob Abbott. But the steering wheel, I'm not used to having that big wheel turning like 3 or 4 inches or more. And I'm wondering if that's normal.
It sounds a bit much.
Yeah,
You know, they have a lot of play.
That's an
It's
awful.
not
3 or 4
rapid
inches is
pinion.
a lot. A lot.
Yeah.
3 or 4 is more than it should. In the straight ahead position, the wheels should start moving almost as soon as you move the steering wheel. In the straight ahead position.
Okay.
There's a high spot on the cam. When you get off to the side, there is more play. But when the straight ahead position, you should almost, you know, half an inch of, maybe an inch of movement of the wheel. You'll see, or if somebody puts their hand on them, you'll feel the wheels start to move. The steering box is adjustable. The steering box is
is there adjustments on that play on the steering box?
The steering box is adjustable. There's a large nut with a like a threaded rod inside it, or a stud sticking out. The nut is a lock nut. In the straight ahead position again, loosen the lock nut, turn that screw down until it stops. You feel it stop, back it off 1/16 of a turn, hold it there and tighten the lock nut, and then see if the situation has changed.
Very good. Very good. Thank you, Michael.
Easy as.
but it's never going to be as
I'll report
precise
next
as your
month.
Peter, it's never going to be as precise as your modern car. So
Yeah, I didn't expect that, but I did want, you know, to sort of, when you're going down a straight road, not to be going back and forth all the time with it. But other than that, it's a wonderful car to drive.
Great.
And yeah. And this is
So it is adjustable. Now you can also, if it get to the point where it's worse, you can replace the steering box as well. There are a number of suppliers where you can replace the whole steering box. It's a big job, but it can be done.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would start with the
it wouldn't
adjustment first.
It wouldn't be like the idler arms or bushings on the wheels or anything like that. It's most likely the steering box, right?
The steering box is pretty well directly connected to the left front wheel. Okay, there's just one rod between the end of the steering box and the left front wheel. So unless there's a lot of wear in what's called the side rod, which is the rod that goes from the steering box to the left wheel, and you should be able to see anywhere in the joints on that, which is pretty unusual actually, then it's most likely the steering box needs adjustment.
Okay.
I had a similar problem with my BJ8, and it was on the other side of the car. I think it's called the idler box. I don't remember. And that bushing was gone on that. And I just replaced the box and it's solved the problem.
So that was on the right side?
Yes.
Yeah.
Called the steering idler.
And you could shake that and see if it, you know, if you get the weight.
It's not a separate box per se. It's the idler arm, right, Michael?
No, it's actually a thing that duplicates the bottom of the steering box. So it's a vertical shaft inside a housing, which has an arm on it, and so it looks just like the bottom half of a steering box, and it's called a steering idler. So there's a side rod on the left, side rod on the right, and there's a rod that connects those two boxes together.
And that idler box has fluid in it, just like the steering box.
Correct.
That's on the BJ. That's on the BJ8 also, or was that?
Yes, all big Heelys.
Never saw that. Okay.
Okay. Other questions tonight? Well, I have a question, folks. What are people thinking? You know, we have this new communication mechanism we're calling Healy breaking news. Have you guys seen that? And is it something that you find valuable in terms of how we communicate with you, our members? Any feedback?
Where does it appear?
Well, it's an email that gets blessed out. And it's so we've had two versions of it. First version, we talked about the new resource guide. We talked about some of the updates as it relates to on the website. And then I sent one out yesterday, was around all the regional events.
Yeah, I think it's
Daryl,
great, Pete.
Daryl, do you have a Comcast email address?
Well,
Or
I
Mike?
think I've
I'm
seen
sorry,
it.
Mike. Well, yes, you would have received an email yesterday.
Yeah, it was good. I liked it.
Okay.
Peter,
Thanks, Daryl.
I also saw it and I thought they were good messages, helpful.
Okay, great.
Who would be the sender, Pete?
Well, it's coming from me. We're using it through Club Express. I will share that we've had some challenges with people with Comcast email addresses. So it is my recommendation that you check your junk mail or your spam folders on your email regularly. Because especially with Comcast customers, that we were finding that it was going into the junk or spam folders and was not coming into their inboxes with Comcast. We've not found that with Gmail or other email providers, but that one has been a problem. But those are coming from me, Michael, through Club Express.
Yeah, I got them both.
Okay, great. Okay. Anyone else have anything else for tonight?
Hey, Pete, I have a quick follow-up
Go ahead,
to
Eric.
before. So I did go outside and I did confirm that turning the headlights on and spinning the knob, the headlights came on briefly for a quick second there right in the middle. I haven't been able to replicate it other than that one time. Does that suggest that the kill switch is bad versus some sort of ground issue? Like I'm just going to order, I can get one for $75 getting a replacement on Moss Motors. Is that the most likely culprit at this point versus some sort of grounding issue with there?
Almost certainly.
Right.
Okay.
So when you
I'll just order
turn
it
the
then.
kill switch, does it click firmly into position, Eric?
It does. It clicks firmly in both sides. It clicks, but the only time the light came on was right in the center somewhere, and it was just for a quick second. And I couldn't replicate it more than once. So I want to get this thing going. So I'm just going to order it for the $75 part and at least get that order tonight, and then I'll disassemble everything tomorrow or the next day.
Well, Eric, that's exactly what happened to me, except that mine was a little more consistent in the middle. But Michael did say to make sure you check all grounds, because a bad ground could cause that spring that he mentioned earlier to fail in the new switch.
Oh, okay, got it. That would gotcha. So make sure I check the grounds before I put the new switch in.
Make sure they're all clean.
And I would suggest just the cheapest thing and most immediate thing is as somebody suggested, just a jumper, another battery to your existing battery, and make sure the lights go on and stay on. Make sure everything else works on a new battery or on a way of bypassing a kill switch, just to make sure it's nothing else.
Well, the current battery that's in there shows a full charge, so I don't think there's anything wrong with the battery. So I'm not.
His point.
Oh, right. Yes, not the battery. It's see if you could bypass the kill switch. I think that's what I meant.
There's actually a very easy way there's two ways to bypass this kill switch. You use a set of jumper cables, as I said, or you can just unscrew one of the two large terminals, or both of them, and move both the cables onto one terminal, and that bypasses the switch.
Ah, got it. Okay.
You can take that switch out entirely and run the car without it.
I vote for that.
So that's what I would say. There's no harm in removing
that
the
kill switch
for the time
is
being.
not necessary.
And all the forums, they all go with the same, that kill switch is a lot of problems, just take it out. I have one myself, it's on my shelf.
However, there is a good idea, especially on these little cars, from what I understand, to have a way of disconnecting the battery. So if you park for a while, it doesn't
That's why
burn
I
out.
like to kill. That's why I like to have it, because I want to disconnect the battery.
Yeah. So
Hey.
either the kill switch, or you can get like an aftermarket one that attaches to one of the terminals, and there's a knob that you just unscrew and take away with you.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a variety of them, but essentially it's a battery disconnect is all it is.
Exactly.
I would make a suggestion also, buy yourself a couple of beers, because you have to be very patient to take off that kill switch.
Oh boy. Okay.
But good beer.
You know, I had a situation, I was out, you know, I wasn't anywhere near my shop. I was out traveling, cruising, and I had the problem with it. I took it off and got the car back to my shop a couple days later, you know, so, and it was fine running without that kill switch.
How often do these kill switches go, and is it a good thing to have a spare around?
The kill switch in my 100 is the original, so
Okay.
it's 72 years old.
I'm
If
not
they're
gonna get a
installed
spare.
properly and the ground cables are on them, they last forever.
Okay.
Yeah, mine is original also.
Yeah, mine's original as well. It's over 60 years old.
They'll work perfectly until they don't.
When you turn over,
I'll get another 60 years out of it.
At that point, do we care? No.
if you turn over the engine for a long time, it'll kill it.
Yeah.
Well,
don't
that's
do
what
that.
happened, Roger. That's exactly what Eric did. We had a difficult time getting the car to start.
Yeah.
Let me ask you a quick question on that, and I'm pretty sure talking to someone else that it just I didn't put stable in the gas, and that was probably the cause of it. But it didn't even fire up. It was just completely dead. I mean, you're turning the starter, it go boo, 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 no spark, nothing for almost a minute before it finally did spark a little bit, and then I was able to play around with the gas and I was able to get it started. But is that typical behavior for not even a spark, nothing for a good minute?
If the chokes are not working, yes, it is. If the chokes are working, that usually won't happen. But to check that, you get a can of ether, quick start, spray a couple of seconds on each air filter, and if it starts up, you know there's your problem. But it's most likely problem is that the choke is not working.
But so when I did finally start, I had the choke out. But then when I pushed the choke in, it changed like when it was running with the choke on, it was idling super high, and then I pushed the choke in and it reduced it down. So the choke is definitely doing something, but
yeah, the choke, there's two stages to the choke. The first half of the movement of the choke really just increases the idle speed. Then from there on in, we were talking about before, it lowers the jet, which enriches things and makes the engine, a cold engine, easier to start. So you may have had the choke out far enough to make the fast idle work, but actually not make the jets move.
Oh, okay. Because I swear, I mean, I've been driving this car off and on since I was 18 years old, and I don't ever remember having to lay on it for a minute. Like I just okay.
Get a can of ether.
I'll do that. Okay, thank you.
There is an alternative to ether, and it's an Australian product called Start You Bastard.
It's Australian ether.
Yeah, it normally comes in a case of stubbies.
You Mike first? You have another question?
Just one last one. Last year I was having issues with my tach. I'd be driving along nice and fine. The engine sounds normally, 3,000 RPM ish. Then every once in a while, the tach would be, and the engine sounded the same, would be sitting at 5,500, and and that's going at moderate speed. So you can tell a lot by sound, and the engine had not changed. So the tach seems to be getting a bit wonky. I've checked all the connections because from the tach to the spark coil, et cetera, Is there anything else I should check? Unless it's just that the tax is starting to go, and who would do it? It's probably on our website, but who would you recommend for overhauling tachometers?
Is this a BJ8 to be sure?
That's correct, yes.
Yeah, the electronics in the BJ8 tachometers tend to go odd with age, and they tend to become inaccurate, and they tend to rise. The reading tends to rise. However, flicking up and down is more likely to be an electrical issue, a bad connection rather than the tachometer itself.
Yeah, it's
in my opinion.
It's when I'm cruising and when it's deciding not to act correctly, it's just I'm cruising it now at 5,500 RPM. It doesn't windshield wiper. It just starts reading high for quite an extended period, and then sometimes reads normal. But
are you still running points, Michael?
Yes.
Mike?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Michael's right. They do that. So here are the 4 companies that we've identified as instrument repair. Nossingers used to do it, but they had a flood. So they only have new instruments. They don't do any repair. And I think
Okay.
Bob Abbott, you recommend Momo. That's the one you use out in New Mexico, in Albuquerque.
I see it here.
Bob Abbott. Is it Momo Manufacturing the one you recommend? I think it is, Michael. Or Mike Hirsch. Sorry.
Okay.
That one in New Mexico is who he recommends.
Okay.
But then I've also had. Didn't you, Ken Glidden? Didn't you also mention this gentleman here, Mike? He used to work for Nossingers and now at British Speedo, and he's in New York.
I used him, Peter.
Okay.
He
Thanks,
was
Carl.
excellent. Excellent.
Okay.
He did my speedometer.
Mike Mizrahi. Okay.
Yeah.
He did mine as well.
Okay.
Thanks, Bruce.
I'll give him a call and describe the symptoms. He'll probably say, "Oh yeah, normal. Send it." Good.
Yep. Well, again, you can run the car without the tach too.
Yeah.
It doesn't stop you.
You get used to a certain sound, and if it sounds right, and if it sounds right, it feels right, it's probably right. But it's just that my background says that if an instrument's not working, it just bothers me. So
well, with a Healey, you better don't let it bother you too much.
Point well taken. Yes. Yes.
We'll keep the knives and the guns away from you, Mike. If the instruments bother you.
Right. Yeah. No, don't. Yeah. Well, I'm having issues with the Tiger too, but whatever.
Okay. Any other questions tonight?
Oh, Peter, when are you going to have another tech session down your place? Now the weather's good, maybe I'll drive down the Healey just because.
Well, again, generally we do the tech sessions when the weather isn't nice. There is a gentleman who's interested in doing some work on his car. Unfortunately, he's having some surgery now, so it probably wouldn't be until next November, December.
Okay.
Their next tech session, unless someone would like to have something and need something done.
So we do the tech sessions off driving season, so we can have driving season. Got it.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll pop down just say hello, show you the car. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that'd be good. Good. Okay. Well, thank you all tonight. Hope you enjoyed discussions. Again, we'll post this out on our website, and we'll have again the call. It's the second Monday of each month at 7 o'clock.
Sounds good.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Thank you. Good night. Take care.
Thanks
Bye-bye.
very much. See you
You're
next
welcome.
time.
Thank you.